How about you? I'm Hank. Welcome to Hamiltonville Farm. I worked my tractor 21 straight days. Here's what I learned. I know a lot of big farmers out there are going to be like, 21 straight days, that's nothing, especially during your growing season and things like that when you're planting, fertilizing, and harvesting your crops. But for small landowners or for small acreage or hobby farms or weekend farmers, 21 straight days is a long time and a lot of hours to put on your tractor, and you learn a lot of valuable lessons. Most of us just use our tractors on the weekends, maybe during the week once or twice. The only time we're going to be using our tractors is when we're off work full time. And then you have those guys that have their tractors that are actually set out like at other property. Let's say you've got a house inside a neighborhood in a suburb or in the city somewhere, but you've got hunting property or you got a lot or some acreage that is an hour away, 30, 45 minutes away or whatever, and you only get to work on your tractor whenever you get a chance to go visit that property. So you don't get to work it 21 straight days. But I got a chance to work mine 21 straight days, and I want to tell you everything I learned about it. Okay, maybe not everything, right? But I'm going to give you the top 10 things that came to mind as I took notes over the last 21 days. The first thing is you're going to get a lot of shirts dirty because of tractor grease. Oh man, you're going to use a lot of grease. The book says to grease it every 8 hours, every 10 hours, something like that. I actually grease my tractor every time I get on it. So I used a ton of grease. So in 21 days, it was close to 4 tubes. So I used close to 4 tubes of grease, but I mean, I was pumping it to it. A little overboard, maybe. But I'm telling you, I think grease is cheaper than parts. And so I used a ton of grease, and you can see it squirting out these fittings. And every time that I leaned against it, man, I was getting it on my shirt, and it was driving Gina crazy when we were doing laundry and I was getting grease on everything, you know what I mean? So the first thing I learned is you're gonna use a lot of grease. So let's go on to number 2 and tell you about the second thing that I learned when you're doing the 21 straight days on your tractor. Not only are you gonna use a lot of grease, going to use a lot of fuel. I used a ton of fuel over the 21 days that I was working this tractor. Some days I'd work at 2 hours, some days I'd work at 8 hours. It was a long process. Every time I turned around, I was topping it off. So I used a lot of fuel otherwise that I wouldn't have used, which is good because my tractor is keeping fresh fuel in it and things like that. I didn't have to worry about adding any type of preservative or any type of additive to my fuel system. I was just dumping fresh fuel in there, fresh off-road diesel. I use off-road diesel, and I was just dumping that fresh stuff in there. So I was going through maybe 3 to 7 gallons a day, just depending on what I was doing while I was working on the tractor. You know, how high I was revving RPMs, what kind of work was I doing. But I was doing 3 to 7 gallons a day, depending on the work. During these 21 days that I was actually using the tractor, we had Tropical Storm Marco and Hurricane Laura come west of us because we're here in the panhandle of Florida, but that drove a lot of rain. And so one thing that I learned is cabs are nice to have in the rain. I was still able to get a lot of work done even though it was raining outside. So cabs are super, super nice to have when it's raining outside, especially if you've got a project that you know you got to complete. Maybe you only have the weekend to get some stuff done. Got a cab, you can go out there in the rain and still get the work done even though it's raining. It kind of makes sense. If it's raining, you got a cab, you're nice and dry. This thing's got windshield wipers on the front and back, and so, you know, even though it was raining, I was able to keep the windows clean. I could still do my job or the task that I was working on, and so having a cab is pretty nice when it comes to the rain. Cabs are not really good for working in the deep woods. So yeah, cabs are really, really nice for the rain like we just talked about, but in the deep woods, I'd rather have an open station, to be honest with you. I was doing constant looking around, keeping my head on a swivel, and a lot of my work and a lot of my property is in the deep woods. So I constantly had to creep around in first gear or second gear. I kept it in mid-range, but you had to go slow in the deep woods because you're constantly worried about knocking your mirrors off. You're constantly worried about shattering the glass if you hit a limb or something like that. Your head is on a swivel. You're looking around. You're making sure that everything's clear above you, to the right and to the left of you. And if you're snaking through these trails like I had to do, it gets really, really tight. I could have went a lot faster if I had an open station, but since I had a cab, I was nice and cool in the AC. But I always had to keep my head on a swivel. Keeping my head on a swivel meant that I never broke any of my glass, I never broke any of my mirrors, and it was all good and all squared away because I was cognizant of the fact that I had a cab station in this heavily wooded area. There's a lot of things that you learn when you're doing 21 straight days, and one of the most valuable things that I figured out that was on my tractor, besides the AC is pretty valuable, but one of the things that I figured out was the most valuable thing on my tractor was two things actually. So I got the hydraulic top link, which you can see here, and the quick hitch here. The hydraulic top link and the quick hitch, I'm telling you, that hydraulic top link, it's crazy how much flexibility or how much more you can do with implements if you add the hydraulic top link to your tractor. You got to have the rear remotes to set up your hydraulic top link. So if you don't have spools in the back, you need to get spools in the back so that you can operate this hydraulic top link. You're talking about changing the angle of your implements, the aggressiveness of your blades and things like that. That hydraulic top link, man, that is the way to go. It was awesome, and I can't believe that I waited so long to put one on my tractor. But this quick hitch is awesome too. I've had this, I don't know, Grizzly I think is the name brand. I got it from Agri Supply, but I've had it like 2 years now. But this quick hitch is awesome, and so I highly recommend getting a solid quick hitch. I mean, this one's worked for me fine, and I beat it up pretty bad. There's plenty of them out there. You can find them all over the place, anywhere from $99 up to $250, I think it is. Get a quick hitch because it will definitely save time hooking and unhooking implements. Or the Pat's Easy Change system is pretty good from what people say too. However, what you need to think about with Pat's Easy Change is it actually extends your lift arms on your 3-point hitch. You have to consider the length of your PTO shaft. If you've already cut it to length and then you're going to try to add a Pat's after the fact, you may have cut your PTO shaft too short. But if you haven't cut your PTO shaft yet and you have Pat's on your tractor, you should be in good shape. I mean, the Pat's are really, really handy. If you have Pat's plus a hydraulic top link, you'll be fine. Quick hitch plus hydraulic top link, you'll be fine. I'm telling you, you don't know how much time this saves by having the quick hitch or the Pat's Easy Change on your tractor. And it's just personal preference if you want the quick hitch or the Pat's Easy Change system. They both do great jobs. I've never used Pat's, but I've got buddies that's got tractors with Pat's on them. So they work great for them. So I would just look into what you think is better for you or your tractor. I will say though, if you get a quick hitch, take the bolts out of the top hook here. This hook wraps around your implement here. Take these bolts out and get you some pins, and that way you ain't got to worry about it. And then if you need to adjust how high or how low the top hook is for the implement that you're putting on it, you just take these pins out, boom, set it to the depth that you need, put the pins back in. If you can see here, I put the letter A on my quick hitch, and then I put a letter A on the implement itself that matches that corresponding hole. So I know the A on this implement matches the setting for the A on my quick hitch. That kind of takes the guesswork out of it if you're hooking up your implement. So you don't need to guess how deep or shallow that top hook needs to be. Hey, I know the box blade is letter A. I'm gonna put it on the letter A setting. I've seen people use numbers as well. So 1, 2, 3, and 4, whatever, and then put the corresponding implement that matches that setting with 1, 2, 3, or 4, and that saves you some time as well. But that's not the only lessons learned. I've got a few more. Let's talk about the next one. 21 straight days, you can imagine I spent a lot of time in the cab, right? You do not need to underestimate a comfortable seat. The seat that you're going to be sitting in for hours upon hours needs to be as comfortable as possible. This is the deluxe seat from Branson, and I'm telling you, it is awesome. Now, obviously, tractors don't have suspension systems, so you need to have either an air ride seat or a spring-assisted seat to help you absorb all the ups and downs and the bumps that you're going to be going over whenever you're operating the tractor inside the operator workstation. So this cab tractor, I don't have to worry about reins inside of it on the seat or whatever the case may be. But if you're keeping your tractor outside, I highly recommend putting something over the seat. That way, when you come out and it's been raining the day prior or something, your seat's not wet. You can just jump on your tractor, you can go. You can also do that to prevent birds or rats or something from pooping on. You don't want bird poop and rat poop all over your seat. So adding some type of seat cover is a good idea, especially if you keep your tractor outside in the elements. If you're in any Facebook group, any tractor forum, whatever, you get this question all the time. How much horsepower do I need? You know, how big of a tractor do I need? You need the biggest one you can afford. I promise. A lot of people will go off acreage, or a lot of people will go off of, well, I'm only going to bush hog. Don't think that. You get the biggest one you can afford, because once you get a tractor, you just ain't bush hogging. I promise. We've all read those posts in those forums about, hey, I got a 40 horsepower. I wish I would have got the 55 horsepower. Hey, I got the 19 horsepower because of the pre-emission stuff. I really wish I would have went with the 35 horsepower because I really need that extra oomph, you know, to do the work around my property. So I'm telling you, one of the lessons that I learned is you need more horsepower. All right. The Branson's 52 horsepower, and it has plenty for me, but I went from a 45 horsepower to a 52 horsepower, and I can tell the difference, what I missed out on when I had the 45 horsepower tractor. So get as much horsepower as you can afford. Speaking of Facebook groups, if you're looking for Branson Tractor groups on Facebook, Branson Tractor Enthusiast is a group that they're trying to hit 1,000 members. I think they've got maybe 850, 950, and they're trying to top the 1,000 mark. If you do Facebook, go check out Branson Tractor Enthusiast. I think you'll like that group. A lot of good people over there, and you can try to help them get to 1,000 members in their Facebook group. They'd appreciate that, especially if you're researching on whether or not you should buy a Branson tractor or not. A lot of good information over there. But let's talk about more lessons learned after I've done 21 straight days. Remember how I was talking about buying a tractor with the most horsepower just, you know, a few seconds ago? That's because you're going to use your tractor for more than what you think you're going to use it for. Don't think you're going to buy a tractor, but, oh, I'm just going to bush hog with it. You're going to end up moving trailers. You're going to end up taking out the trash. You're going to end up doing all kind of things that you didn't think you would do with your tractor. A storm's going to come along, and you're going to need to move some type of debris or the limbs that fall out of trees. You're going to want to put a trail in your backyard. You're going to get mulch for your garden beds. Don't handcuff yourself to think that, hey, I'm just going to use it to bush hog. Hey, I'm only going to use it to load logs onto a sawmill. I promise you, you're going to start using your tractor for everything. And then you're going to start researching, hey man, I need some pallet forks. Where can I get some pallet forks at? And you're going to start looking at pallet forks. And then you're going to be, I need a grapple. Where do I get a grapple from? You're going to start researching grapples. And then you're going to be, oh man, you know, a box blade would make this path a lot more easier. If I had a box blade on the back, it'd be a lot better than just the bush hog. So you're going to start looking for box blades. I'm telling you, it's an evolution process, right? There's not a single tractor owner out there that said, I'm just going to buy this for one task. Again, I'm talking about landowners like me. I'm not talking about the big ag guys. The big ag guys buy a planter or a combine to plant and harvest their crops. I'm talking about landowners like me that have, you know, 150 acres, 100 acres, 13 acres, whatever, right? Specialty tractors out there? Absolutely. You know, they have orchard tractors and things like that that do one job. But you're going to be the type of guy that's going to buy a compact tractor, and you're going to say, I need it for more things than I ever thought I would imagine needing it for. And it's awesome because tractors do so much, and you can do so much with them that it's good. You know, that's not a bad thing. That's a good thing. You'll find yourself lifting up lawnmowers to change the lawnmower blades. I mean, it's crazy what you end up doing with a tractor once you get one on your property. But with that being said, a lot of people use it like bulldozers, you know, or abuse them. They're not bulldozers and they're not backhoes. Those things are big, heavily, you know, big specialized equipment. And we think, well, I got a tractor with a bucket on it. I can push this mountain of dirt, you know, with my little 25 horsepower tractor. You can't, you know, don't treat it like a bulldozer and don't treat it like a backhoe because it's not. And it'll end up getting you in trouble. And then you get mad at the manufacturers like, this tractor's a piece of junk, blah, blah, blah. Well, that's because you tried to lift 47,000 pounds with it and you broke your tractor in half. You know what I mean? Hey, we all know people that's been in forums and stuff that's put that on there. Don't be that guy, by the way. So make sure that you treat your tractor, operate it within its parameters that it's designed to be operated on. Get the biggest one you need. But there's another thing you need to do, and another lesson that I learned after working my tractor for so long. When you're working your tractor so much, you need to make sure that you keep up with the routine maintenance. Now, I'm not talking about scheduled maintenance. Well, you need to keep up with scheduled maintenance too, obviously. 50-hour service, the 100-hour service, the 300-hour service. Those increments that you go where you make sure that you grease the whole tractor and you change the filters when appropriate, things like that. Keep up with the maintenance, but the routine maintenance. Remember early in the video when I talked about how much grease it took at the very beginning of the video? I'm telling you, you've got to do that. The book says every 10 hours. So I did it every day because sometimes I work 2 hours, sometimes I work 10 hours. But what I'm telling you is routine maintenance. Check your fluids. check your belts, check your filters, check your tensions, check your whatever. You need to make sure that you check that, because you don't want something preventable happening to you while you're on your tractor. I just read an article today where a guy lost his front tire off his tractor because the bolts came out of it, and he was wondering if would it be covered under warranty. No, it's not going to be covered under warranty, because that's stuff you're supposed to check in accordance with the owner's manual. That routine maintenance will help your tractor last forever, especially if you don't try to overwork it and you keep those fluids and that grease in it. Your tractor, you won't have no problems whatsoever. But if you do have problems, it's one more lesson that I learned that it probably ain't a problem. And I was like, oh my goodness, I'm freaking out. So let me tell you the last lesson learned when I was working my tractor for 21 straight days. A lot of times you won't have problems that are mechanical. A lot of times you have problems that are operator error. I know you have never done that. I'm talking about me and me only, right? Because you guys don't make mistakes. But what I did, I was working my loader one day, and I was thinking, oh man, I'm just going to lift this up and push this tree off to the side, and everything will be hunky-dory. So like always, I grabbed my joystick, and I pulled it back, and my loader started to raise. However, my loader started jerking a little bit and fluttering, pulsating, fluttering on the way up. And I thought, oh man, are you serious? I broke something inside, hydraulic pump, or... My mind just went, oh my goodness, thousands of dollars worth of repairs start flowing through your mind at this point. Well, then I called my buddy, who's a lot smarter than I am, and I said, hey man, I've got this problem with my hydraulics, my front end loader. It started fluttering while I was raising it up today. And he said something so simple, right? He said, did you check your rear remote detent? And I was like, dadgummit, it was so... Here's what happened, right? This is my rear spool. Well, it's got a detent in it. And I had a pair of headphones that were wrapped around here. Well, when I pulled the headphones out, it knocked this lever back out of the detent. Well, I didn't realize it at the time. And so it stayed kind of not in the detent, just kind of right behind it. So it was making the hydraulic fluid do all kind of crazy stuff because it wasn't flowing properly the way it should through the system, because I had jacked up this lever over here. So before you go thinking that you've tore up your tractor or something, go look for the obvious. Look for safety switches. Look for, hey, my tractor won't start. Well, is it in neutral? Is the clutch depressed if it needs to be depressed? Is the safety switch good? Did I say that already? I think I said that already. Look at the battery terminals. You can do that for your routine maintenance and stuff. Make sure that the terminals are not corroded. Make sure there's no obvious wires that have come unplugged because they got caught by limbs or brush or something like that. I would say, I don't know a percentage. You could throw any percentage out there, right? But X amount of percent, let's say 80%. I don't know. 8 out of 10 times is something that can be prevented by the operator, or it's just operator error, something like that. It would be a high percentage. That would be my guess. There's a lot to learn if you stay on your tractor as long as I did for 21 straight days. I feel like it made me a better operator. I feel like it made me a safer operator because I didn't get complacent when I was operating my tractor. So I think that the more you actually start to work your tractor, I think the better off you'll be as an operator, especially if you're new at it. I would encourage you to spend as much time as possible on your tractor so that you understand all the things that it can do, the capabilities that it has. Those are things that are important to you as an operator to keep you safer on your machine and to be more productive while you're out there working on it. We all know people who have done some crazy things, maybe even stupid things on a tractor, but you can overcome all that stuff by being a proficient operator by having a lot of seat time. So try to get as much seat time as possible in your tractor. Hey, I hope you enjoyed this video. Right here's a white circle. Click on that to subscribe to our channel. Underneath here, I'm going to post a video of some Branson Tractor and Homestead implements in action. You can go check out bransontractors.com to see their lineup, homesteadimplements.com to see the implements that I use here at Hamiltonville Farm. You can save 5% with Hank 5, or if you're a veteran, they have a veterans discount, US Vet 10, get you 10% off. Everything ships free to your doorstep in the lower 48 and Ontario. 6 colors to choose from. Great customer service. Love the company. Love their implements. Take care. Thanks for watching. God bless you guys.